Hi guys, JLA Shorts has now arrived. The best bits of the JLA channel in nugget form. Be a legend and subscribe to the channel by checking the link in the description. Cheers. Hello friends, welcome back to the James Lawrence Allcott channel. In this video we're going to be revealing one player who's going to dominate from every Premier League club in 2022. Came to play? Did I come to play? No, I came to dominate. That's what we're going to be talking about, domination. It's one for our American fans here. Call me a dominatrix, if you will, as I reveal them. Actually, don't call me a dominatrix. Not really my bag. What is my bag is subscribers. Yeah. On our way to 150k. Can it be done? It can only be done with your help. So please do consider subscribing to the channel. If you don't want to miss out on any of the lives, make sure you hit the notification bell as well. But that's not important right now. What's important is which player will dominate from each club. Let's go! Arsenal, Emile Smith-Rowe, ESR. The Arsenal fans absolutely love him, and I do as well. I've loved him from day one, before it was cool. But fortunately, 2022 is when it will become cool. But as I said, I knew this before that. Not just Emile Smith-Rowe. I think, look, Saka or him are going to have great years this year. Odegaard's really stepping into it as well. But I think it's just been so eye-catching. The fact that the addition of goals for Emile Smith-Rowe is going to be huge. Add that to the fact that Saka, it was kind of 2021 was more his year, more than 2022. If you think of things like making it into the England squad and stuff like that, I think this year will be Emile Smith-Rowe's, and I expect him to be in that England squad for the World Cup because of the way that he's going right now. You saw him scoring in 4 consecutive goals recently. The guy's top-notch. Aston Villa, Jacob Ramsey. I think he's got a really important part to play for Gerrard in the system that it looks like he's looking to play. The Norwich game was a big one, I think, for a lot of people. They kind of saw that initial glimpse of like, oh, this guy's a player here. Playing on the left side of the central midfield three, he's been really important to the way that Gerrard wants to play, offering that kind of attacking verve. But so far this season, he's only having 33 touches per game. In that Norwich game, 71 touches in that game. You saw him put forward a few key passes, scored a great goal as well. And we saw that glimpse. If you can do that on a more consistent basis and in time allow the team to kind of revolve around him just that little bit more, which really as probably the most attacking of the three in midfield at the moment, or certainly one of those attacking players, he should be involved a lot more, then we're going to see him grabbing the headlines a lot more on a much more consistent basis in 2022. Exciting times for Aston Villa. Brentford. Ivan Toney. Now, we haven't really been talking about Ivan Toney that much because he hasn't been scoring that many goals, but some minor adjustments and just generally the road I feel like Brentford will go down with him in the team means that the goals will come. And I think an England call-up will come sooner or later, be that with Brentford or if he does go on to move on. Because if he does move on, I don't think he goes backwards with the greatest respect to Brentford. I think he goes to a bigger club in the Premier League. He's definitely Premier League level. He's definitely international level, if you ask me, both in terms of his hold-up play and his finishing and his mentality as well. And I think Brentford can get so much more out of him if they take him away from this turnstile role that he's got at the moment and get him a little bit higher up the pitch. The goals are there to be had. It's just the team doesn't facilitate that right now. But in 2022, we will see Ivan Toney in the England squad, in my opinion. Brighton, Tariq Lamptey, the most direct England right-back option. Now, of course, we were all talking about him last season. At the start of the season, sadly, he has had problems with injuries. But now, he's a 21-year-old, I think, who knows himself, who knows that he's good enough for this level. And if you think of the way that Brighton play, because of what he can offer going forward, that incredible explosive burst of pace. And last year, he was the fastest player in the Premier League, clocking up 36 kilometres per hour at some point. Absolutely outrageous. It means that Brighton can play with those inside forwards, but you kind of need a player like Tariq Lamptey. Of course, hasn't played for England's first team as of yet, but when you look at the plethora of options that England have at right back, Kyle Walker, Trippier, Reece James, Trent, of course, as well, a lot of them are crossers of the ball, and then Kyle Walker, maybe a bit of everything, but not really an attacking dribbler. With Tariq Lamptey, you've got something really exciting and different in the way that he's able to burst past players. Something that is truly quite unique, I think, in world football. And this could be the year, if he can stay injury-free, that he really does explode. Not literally, although, of course, if he was to, it would probably be his hamstrings. Burnley struggling a little bit because no one's really set the world alight apart from, of course, Maxwell Cornet. I think with him, it's one where, like, do you believe in him? Do you believe that he can outrun his XG the way that he has so far? So far, he's played 9 games, scored 5 goals, 0.8 goals per game. It's pretty impressive. It's really, really impressive, especially when you look at his XG, because those 5 goals have come from 1.34. XG this season. So it's one where if he really is as good as that, then, I mean, Burnley becomes somewhat of a lily pad as long as they go down, which at the moment they're in those relegation places. If they stay up, then maybe he stays with them and will dominate for them, certainly, because he has been the shining light. Chelsea. Now, this is interesting. I want to let this sort of be discussed in the comments. You've got Romelu Lukaku and Trevor Chalobah, two very different players. And I was going to put forward Romelu Lukaku because I think he's got so much kind of road ahead of him that he could go down in terms of being a star for Chelsea. But of course, he's going through a lot, or has gone through a lot. I think that's still there. But I want to talk about Trevor Chalobah because watching that Liverpool game against Chelsea recently, he made that big mistake. And yes, he did make that mistake, but he was also being used in a game like that. Yes, that was down to some injuries for sure. But I like his mentality. I like what he's about. And if you think later in that game, he made an absolutely fantastic tackle to stop Mohamed Salah, which saved Chelsea. It really did and didn't get spoken about enough. I think he's got it all. I really do think he's got it all. And in particular, I think he's got the mentality and the intelligence to go on and be a real quality player for Chelsea. And this could be the year where it's not just one where he's filling in at times or being that great rotation option, but becomes that starting centre-back or right wing back. Most likely it's going to be a centre back, isn't it, for Chelsea? I just think he's a really, really clever player who's got that quality on the ball as well. He can get better in that element, but under Thomas Tuchel, he's only going to get smarter and he's only going to get better on the ball. Crystal Palace, it has to be Conor Gallagher. Both the kind of ceiling that he's got provided to him being the fact that he's on loan at Crystal Palace right now, and he could grow with Crystal Palace alone. You know, look at the stats amongst the Crystal Palace squad. Goals, 6, the most in the Palace squad. Assists, 3, the most in the Palace squad. Big chances created, 5, the most in the Palace squad. Key passes per 90, 1.8. The first in Palace's squad. And as I say, that ceiling that he's got in terms of going back to Chelsea, which could be a bit of a stumbling block for them, because if you think of how Chelsea play, it needs a new evolution of Conor Gallagher to have the ability to become a bit of a Kovacic or to displace someone like Kovacic, Jorginho, Kante. It's going to be very, very difficult. Would Chelsea look to play a different style? Would he play in one of those front three roles as well? These are all things that aren't as suited to him as the initial role or the current role that he has at Crystal Palace. So massive year for him, both in terms of the decisions that he makes and the football that he plays. I think he's got an exciting end to the season with Crystal Palace as such a key element of how they press and work and attack, and it's in his identity. You can see it written on his face. But in the second half of 2022, what's he going to do? Where's he going to go? And is he going to play? I hope so. Because if he does, there's no reason why he can't be on that plane to Qatar. Everton, there can be only one man. Dominic Calvert-Lewin, I think, is probably one of 2-3 players that you could truly say are top quality players that you can rely on week in, week out, if, of course, they're fit. Now, minor setback, major comeback for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think there's no doubt that he can score 10 goals for the remainder of the season. He started the season pretty well as well, 3 goals out of 3, but of course the problems with injury have played a part. But I think we forget how young he is and how impressive he can be for this Everton side. So I think if Everton are going to dominate games, then he will be dominating in the air like he did in 2020, the second half of that year. Add to that a lot of transfer rumours about where he might be come August. It could be a huge year for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Leeds United, Joffe Gelhardt. He's broken through recently, and I think he looks like he's the star for Leeds United moving forward. It's going to be interesting to see who they bring in over the transfer window and how that affects his opportunities, but he's been able to get some opportunities, of course, due to the long injury list that Leeds United have suffered under recently, and he's done really, really well in terms of successful dribbles per 90. He's 3 per game, which is pretty impressive. He's got that Wayne Rooney vibe about him in terms of being able to carry the ball. Finishing ability looks pretty strong as well. I know the Leeds United fans absolutely rave about him, and you haven't seen it at senior level as of yet, but in the under-23s he's got a few screamers in his locker as well, so certainly one for the future and quite possibly one for this year. It's going to be interesting to see how Bielsa deals with him and utilises him, because I think it's been a very tough baptism. But once the circumstances change somewhat and brighten a little bit and the clouds lift, then quite possibly Gelhardt could really thrive in this Leeds United side. Leicester City, this is interesting. The signs are there, but can it continue? James Maddison has been brilliant. Since the 28th of November, he scored 4 goals and registered 3 assists in 6 matches. You've seen the output there. I think that's been the thing that when we talk about Grealish and Foden and Maddison, that's what kind of puts him to the side. We know he's got that great set-piece delivery. We know he's got a great shot on him as well. But can we get the assists and the goals? Can he get himself into the box? And can maybe sometimes he be a bit more careful in terms of how he carries himself? Because it does feel like at times he's drunk his own Kool-Aid a little bit. So it's one of those where I like him. I like that he can talk. I like that he's got a bit of arrogance at times, but you got to deliver, and he hasn't been delivering overall over the past few years for the talent that he clearly has. But maybe 2022 is his year. Let me know, Leicester City fans, talk to me. Maddison, is this his year? Liverpool, Mohamed Salah. Now, the difference here with Mohamed Salah in terms of him dominating is just, we know that he dominates. That's what he does. But I think we've got to remember how difficult it is to dominate the way that he has so far. If you look at Harry Kane last season, he became the first player since 93-94 and Andy Cole to top the charts when it comes to assists and goals. Mohamed Salah is currently doing that. So although it's going to go back to back, it's not something that normally happens. Add to that, you've got the African Cup of Nations with Egypt's history. He's got a great chance, of course, of winning that. And he could, who knows, win himself a Champions League, win himself an FA Cup. The trophies are there when it comes to Liverpool. And in terms of trophies, there's one trophy that Mohamed Salah wants more than anything. And I feel like this is the year. This is the year that Mohamed Salah wins the Ballon d'Or. Manchester City, João Cancelo. This is an interesting one because if you really look at Man City and how they've been playing this season, is there a more important player for Man City? Maybe aside from Ederson? Well, certainly with the ball, it's João Cancelo. You know, you talk about Kevin De Bruyne. Yes, of course, he's elite. He's complete. But Man City can deal without him. They've proven that. They've proven that in 2021 and then some. So when it comes to João Cancelo and how he provides so much in terms of shot creating actions, 2.86 per 90, which is very, very strong. Essentially has the profile of a central midfielder at times in terms of his numbers. His ability to get his shots off. He's had more shots than any other Man City player this season with 40. If he can score a few more goals, and even if he doesn't really, the importance of João Cancelo, it's only going to strengthen and pull into more focus because he is on the ball all the time. He is a starting point all the time. And if you think him being on that left-hand side, he's only going to be moving over to his favoured right-hand side with Kyle Walker slowly being phased out, I presume, over the next few years as a 32-year-old. And his influence, I would imagine, would get even greater and greater because it's getting to a point where anywhere on that Man City pitch you can replace players, except for Cancelo. Manchester United. Let's talk centre-backs because, you know, Man City, look at Ruben Dias. If you look at Liverpool, Virgil van Dijk. If you look at Chelsea, Thiago Silva. Who's that guy for Man United? Rafael Varane. Don't worry, I'm not going to say Harry Maguire. I mean, he's had a stinker, isn't he? It was a tough pick for Man United, but with the way that they're going to play moving forward, I think actually Varane's skill set, his physical attributes, his experience as well is going to be very, very important. And in time, his pace and assurity should really help Man United get back to the levels that they want to get to and start to move towards those other three sides. 2022 is a very big year. And again, with that way of playing that Man United want to do, with that high press, those centre-backs are going to be so, so important. And therefore, Varane is going to have to dominate in 2022. Here's something I didn't think I'd say. Joe Linton. Yeah. I'm only sort of semi-joking as well because the form that he's showing at the moment has been really, really impressive. And if you have a look at his stats on FB Ref, it gets compared to other forwards, but he's creating a new role for himself. I think partly it will be obsolete in time because Newcastle United will look to develop and have a team that isn't defending as much as it is. But he's playing this sort of like target man, box-to-box, central midfield forward. I don't think that's a thing, and I don't think it will be a thing long term. But if it is, he's going to dominate that role. He's been absolutely fantastic in terms of his ability to progress the ball. Because of his strength, he can be that target man and is kind of press-proof as well at times when he does that, as shown by the numbers. And as I say, in that ability to get Newcastle up the pitch, which has been really important because they have been so isolated when it comes to Callum Wilson and Alan St-Maximin. You need those people able to drive the ball up because the rest of the team haven't been able to do so. This new role for Joe Linton has been very impressive, and therefore, with very few other options really in terms of dominating, why not? Go on, son. Norwich City, Andrew Omobamidele. Now, Omobamidele is someone that you probably had a quick look at when you were picking your team for FPL right at the start of the season, and then you've never heard or said that name since. Omobamidele. Lovely to say. Tricky to say, but some of us can do it. after several takes. Anyway, Omar Bamidele, 19-year-old centre-back, and he's one of quite a few Irish youngsters that are coming through now and a lot of people are excited about. Now, if you think of kind of the ceiling or the potential or the development of a player, there's a lot of players for Norwich City that have kind of had 2 cracks at the Premier League. Omar Bamidele is one of those that hasn't really. You know, think of Ben Gibson and Grant Hanley now. They've certainly had a few cracks at the whip. Norwich City looks like they're probably going to go down this season, and if they do so, it will be a great opportunity for him to then start to play and build himself up as a centre-back that can then make his own way back into the Premier League and become a top-quality Premier League player. The right-back options for England are absolutely ridiculous, and we have a look at Southampton, and another player that will dominate for them in their system, but generally dominate, Tino Livramento has to be the guy. He's great already, he's 19 years old, one of the signings of the season, and he's only going to get better. Now, what's going to happen for him in 2022? It's going to be interesting because you've got Chelsea who can buy him back for 25 million and then probably sell him on for 35 because of how impressive he's been for Southampton. Or he could stay at Southampton, of course, as well and become that regular. I think that would obviously be the great thing. He needs to have those games. It's so important for him. But if you have a look at those England options, Trippier sooner or later will probably make his way out of the squad. Kyle Walker, as we said in this video, a little bit older these days. I think he's still got a bit of time left. But Tino Livramento could become that 4th option or 5th option for England moving forward. He's got strength. It's hard to shrug off the ball. Incredible stamina and energy as well. Great on the ball as well. Another one where the summer will play a very big part in his 2022. For Spurs, I'm going to go for Heung-min Son because I think there's more to come. I know that's an odd thing to say, but I think when you look at this Conte side, there are going to be changes that are going to be made, and he should be the beneficiary of these. Harry Kane as well, of course, but the wing-back positions, in terms of creativity for the side and creating chances for those two, and it is Harry Kane and it is Heung-min Son, a bit like it was Romelu Lukaku and it was Lautaro Martinez. Son can score more, and in terms of top quality XG opportunities, that's what we've not seen from him as of yet. He's done brilliantly so far. 10 goal involvements, 8 goals and 2 assists so far this season. But he can do better in the second half of the season if he's getting the opportunities from the wing-back. So an important January, I would imagine, and summer, but not in terms of his movements, having signed that contract, but for the movements of the team. Because if you bring in those wing-backs who can stretch the pitch wide, you're going to create more spaces going forward for Son. Watford, and another player who is running really hot, and the big question is, can he keep it going? Emmanuel Dennis. Now, I spoke about him at length when I was reacting to Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher's half-season awards, and I felt like he should have got the signing of the season so far, €4 million, and at the moment, 0.93 goal involvements per 90. It's ridiculous, quite frankly. And the fact that if he can keep this going on, he's certainly going to keep them up. Then you look into the summer and see what happens to him and where does he go. And then, of course, can he keep moving in the right direction? But ultimately, scoring 8 goals from an XG of 4.2 is elite. It's elite finishing. He's 24. He's still acclimatising to the Premier League as well. So it's a really exciting time for him, and a big summer move for him could be in the offing if he can keep Watford up. And to be honest, even if he doesn't. For West Ham, it's got to be Jarrod Bowen. Now, I saw this in him at Hull, and I think this is it. You know, it takes time to acclimatise, but if people got the right assets, they can jump up from the Championship to the Premier League and dominate. And I think that's what could happen here with Jarrod Bowen. It's taken him a little while to get there, but now he's in a place where he's kind of got that same confidence in his finishing that he had with Hull City back in the day. Also, his role is slightly tweaking and changing. He's got that ability to be a winger, incredible stamina, work rate, pace, power, strength, all of those things, but good technical ability as well. Always likes to start on that right-hand side and then move into more central areas. And he's starting to win matches on his own. You look at that Watford game, 3 wonderful assists in that 4-1 victory. I really, really like what he's about. I always have done. But the output wasn't there. And I think the output wasn't there because truly the belief possibly wasn't there. Now, at 25 years old, I think he knows who he is. He knows he's good enough. And he knows he's in a team that has real confidence and character in it. And I think it's brought out the best in him as well. And I think that England call-up is coming. Will he be able to stay in that squad with so many stars in there? That's going to be really difficult for him. But when he keeps winning games on his own, and also that ability to play both wide and in more central, tighter areas, you've got someone who gives you a few options. So it could be a huge, huge year for Jarrod Bowen. Wolves. Now, you could say Morgan Gibbs-White, who I think he's got it. he has got it. You know, talk about Jarrod Bowen, that ability to come up. He's got it as well. And he's doing really well at Sheffield United this season. That box-to-box midfielder is the heir to those midfielders there in midfield. I think he's got a lot to offer Wolves still. And I think that will come. Could it be this year? I think it kind of needs to be this year for him. But I want to talk about Jose Sarr because he's had such a great first half of the season. Can he continue to dominate? If Wolves play the way they're playing, in terms of the amount of goals that they're conceding, then you would have to say that it's him. He's been absolutely astounding for them. They've only conceded 14 goals so far this season, yet the post-shot XG for Wolves is 20.7. So effectively, Jose Sarr is saving 6 goals so far this season. He's 6 goals up. So he's had a great first half to the season. And if he can keep this going, then that, Rui Patricio-shaped hole that he's filled pretty quickly, I mean, that Patricio hole will now be a shadow. Does that even make sense? It doesn't make sense, does it? But you get what I mean? He's having a good year. And he could have a great year this year. So there you have it, guys. A bit of positivity putting out in the world. Players that are going to dominate. That's right. They're going to do well. We're not going to go that angry about them. Although there is a video of players that need to leave their clubs. That's on the channel right now. If you've enjoyed yourself, smiled, or gone, interesting point, Jim, then why not subscribe to the channel? And hit the like button as well. Have a wonderful day. Check out the fantastic content that we've got on the channel. Great collaboration with Scouted Football. A lot of people haven't watched it. Maybe you should. See you next time.